Go.
Okay, this is inspired by the Battle of Hastings, and I've called it Lines of Battle because we looked at the two lines of the battle, William the Conqueror and Harold's troops. So this is represents those lines of battle, and talking about invasion, breaking that line, and then what actually happened was the encircling sort of around. I've actually used, the materials that I've used here are pastels, but also the brown and the red are the earth of this area, because what I felt was the red is the blood staining the mud, because we heard about the blood of all of the thousands of men in the earth, and these are seeds of hope, the seeds that something comes out of this, and also the mixing of the blood and the earth and the lines and the shadows, that it leaves as traces in the sand, and that something comes out of it.
The artist is dead. Draw your own conclusions. Actually, I was kind of struck by noticing how little people in Britain seem to connect with Hastings, whereas as a foreigner you always assume that, God damn it, there must be such a close emotional connection with it. It's so omnipresent in historical programs on TV, and everybody needs to know this kind of myths. Everybody needs to take part in the stories told about it. And it struck me that actually my generation is supposed to have a very emotional connection to the fall of the Berlin Wall. Yet not everybody has experienced it in the way that television and common history, as opposed to memory, would expect us to. Some of us, like me for example, have completely passed it up, being too small to actually remember it, and too far removed to even vaguely have any real association with it. And that was one idea, to put these two historical events side by side, and the other one was telling everybody that the stone was actually from the Berlin Wall, and that I had actually snuck aside to take a piece of the battlefield home, whereas both of these were taken not very far from our little cottage. And yet the materiality of history is something that everybody seems very eager to accept. Nobody questions me bringing up an actual piece of the Berlin Wall here.
I was looking under guidance around the concept of conflict, but I think, especially as I've talked today, I realised that I was also carrying notions about kind of harsh and the potentially harsh and violent and aggressive underbelly to things which are considered warm and nourishing and relaxing. So in other words, it's the holiday resort and its potential dark underbelly, and we have Brighton down the road with Graham Greene's Brighton Rock, with a kind of gangland criminal underworld underneath a holiday resort. So these are two found objects. It's a fishbone, which has been pecked clean either presumably I suspect by animals or decay, and it's got dirt and tar in it, and it's cracked, and there's a stone, a pebble, which is round and hard and very smooth. I just wanted to put them together because, and I thought about it, I thought, this isn't actually about conflict, this is just about contrast. You know, one of these is very permanent, the stone, the fishbone is decaying and organic, so they just contrast. And I thought, when does contrast in itself become a conflict? Is there a spectrum between something which is, you know, morally neutral, like a contrast, and something which is morally alive, like conflict. And I thought, I don't know the answer to that, but putting these two together just does illustrate that there is something about there is something which is a clear distinction between the organic and the inorganic, and there's also something about a spectrum which suggests when the organic it gets so ugly as that fishbone, and when the inorganic gets so placid, like a round, smooth stone, they've crossed.
What did I do? I did a kind of collage, I think I'd call it. And yeah, somehow I wanted to and reconstruct something. Because yeah, I choose material, mainly written material, advertisements, with different contexts. And I felt very free somehow when I put them all together, because I had the feeling I don't have to find the only content. There are so many contents in it that I can put anything in it. So I thought I take this from the from the advertisement from the rent-a-car, but it means also, you not only have to have an identity with history, you have a free choice. You can do something else. You can, don't forget offers. And then I went to the restaurant in Hastings it was, and had some Nepalese meals. And it told you get authentic stuff and history. You sometimes hope you'll find something authentic. But when we went to battlefield of Hastings, I thought there's not much authentic left there. It's only, it's a lot of commerce, a lot of things.
Too late. No.
And inspired by the rather grim tale we had of the Duke of Normandy pillaging in the Pevensey area prior to the Battle of Hastings, this aspect of invasion is based on the destruction of fire, which so often happens in wars. And I've actually spoken to a warrior who is now dead but not long dead, who remembered actually setting fire to someone's house and leaving them homeless and feeling forever guilty about what he'd done. So, I mean, the reason I say I'm concerned that having Miss Effects is meant to be a very sad and grim experience, not meant to be celebratory. And too often nowadays I think we see fire as being celebratory. So I will just say that the end of this house does actually say Norman King's Nine Dank, because these people have got a political position around the Norman invasion, but that's a little bit flippant, so maybe we'll go outside and empathise with the owner of the house as it is put to the fire.
Sorry.